Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel and another Oscar predictions video. This week, it is the below the line categories, like the text and also animated feature and also, the one we're starting off with, best casting. Now, admittedly, this is going to be kind of a hard category to try to predict because we haven't, obviously it's a new category, so we don't really know how they're going to vote for it. Like the BAFTAs have best casting, but that's a completely juried category. Actually, I don't know if it's completely juried, but I know it's like the only BAFTA category that is still juried. So that is going to be really tough because it's like, well, how different would it be from, if there were no jury. So that's something to try to figure out. There is also the Artios Award, which is a award ceremony, that's nominated and voted on by casting directors. So that could give us some insight, although they do split it up into like big budget comedy, big budget drama, mid-budget comedy, mid-budget drama, like very independent, stuff like that, so it's kind of hard to figure out sometimes, but still, like, I don't know, like one thing, a little bit of a trend that I've seen when looking at the history of the Artios Awards, they seem to like it when you cast real-life people. For example, Complete Unknown won the big budget drama category this year. They like it when you cast children or like find more unknown talent. That's why in the big budget comedy category, you had, Roald Dahl's Matilda the Musical winning over the likes of like The Menu and Glass Onion. And I think the year before that, not the year before that, but the year after that, you had Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, who won Best Casting over movies like Air, which you would think would have a bigger advantage. They also like it when you cast characters that we previously knew, but it's sort of like being rebooted and stuff. For example, West Side Story, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, won Best Casting in a big budget drama. So that is interesting, and I think those kind of things, like, you gotta look around and see what's going on. The Life of Chuck, then again, I don't know what's winning right now. I don't really know what's winning. I'm just trying to get, like, the 5. I'm going with Life of Chuck. It makes sense. I mean, because you're trying to, cast the span of this guy's life, and there's a lot of really big names, but not really big names, but, I mean, some of them are big names, but then other names are just, like, actors that are not known for being in, like, big, high-profile films. Then you have The Rivals of Amziah King, where I'm pretty sure the casting of Angelina Lookingglass could get this film a nomination here as well. As long as it's a big contender. But then again, who knows? Sinners, I mean, it's got the ensemble. You got Miles Caton, trying to find that new talent. I think that, this could be a big contender. Jay Kelly, perhaps, but again, I'm not exactly, because it's not going to be the same as, the SAG Ensemble Award, even though I'm wondering if, like, at the Oscars, they're going to treat it as such. I'm not exactly sure. And then Deliver Me From Nowhere, biopic, music biopic. This is probably a safe one to go with. So yeah, other potential contenders, Nouvelle Vague. Again, I am wondering if this is going to be a big contender. And if it is, I could see this getting nominated because you're trying to cast people as real life people. But we'll have to see. The Wave is an international musical film. That I'm very curious of once Cannes rolls around. I'm wondering if this can actually be a big thing. After the Hunt, I think I initially had it in here, but then I realized, wait, what about the casting would be considered that unbelievable in After the Hunt? So I'm not sure. Bugonia, if I'm not mistaken, Poor Things didn't get nominated at the Artios Awards. Actually, I'm wondering, did The Favorite get nominated? Oh, and, yep, The Favorite was not nominated either. So, I think what this tells me is that the casting directors are not really all that into Yorgos Lanthimos movies. So, in fact, maybe I have this too high. Maybe I should take that down. Rental Family if this becomes a big thing, like, I could see this happening. I mean, again, you gotta cast kids, a bunch of no-name actors. I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Brendan Fraser's, like, the only, like, big name in the film. So I'm curious about that. Frankenstein, if this becomes a big contender, surely this could be a thing, because, you know, you gotta cast all these classic characters in such new ways. Like, I'm curious about this. One battle after another. I'm trying to think about what about the casting would be very appealing to the casting directors. I'm not exactly sure. Let's see. Sentimental value. Maybe. If this becomes a big contender, sure. Wicked for Good. I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, it's going to win," because, you know, yeah, they weren't able to do it last time, so now they can give it the win again. I think that's how regular voters would think, but I don't know about the actual casting directors themselves, because most of the roles have already been cast. If I'm not mistaken, like, the only big name that needs casting is Dorothy. And are they going to do that for, like, one? And even then, I'm not even sure how big the character of Dorothy is in the Wicked musical. So it's like, most of the roles have already been cast. So I don't really know if Wicked for Good's gonna happen. Now, I will also add, I still have my skepticism over Wicked for Good, because everyone keeps telling me that the second act of Wicked is nowhere near as good as the first act, and if this is considered a disappointment, even if it's well received, but it's still considered a disappointment, that kind of bad press will, you know, will linger, and it's probably going to drop off in a lot of categories, and probably not even get into Best Picture. Marty Supreme, again, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure about this. Hamnet, Smashing Machine makes sense, considering, you know, you're casting Dwayne Johnson as this real-life person, and it's like his big dramatic role. But again, I'm not sure how Oscar-friendly this film will be. Eddington, The Phoenician Scheme, Avatar Fire and Ash, Kiss of the Spider-Woman. If this makes it big during the Fall Fest season, I want to keep my eyes on that. And with no other choice, sort of the same thing. If this movie actually does turn out to be like, oh, it can actually be an Oscar contender, then I will I will start putting it up in some of these categories. But as of right now, we'll have to see. Cinematography. All right. In case you don't know, Sinners has dominated the box office this weekend. It made $48 million, which apparently is like an overperformance. It wasn't supposed to make that much money. So I'm just thinking, yep, with these kind of reviews being like one of the most well-reviewed horror movies of all time, and with this kind of box office turnout, Sinners is going to get at least 10 nominations or more. I'm predicting 12 nominations right now. I don't know how much it'll go to, but then again, 12 seems like a pretty good number, and I don't even have it in director or makeup. So, like, I think it could get some of these nominations, and cinematography, I think it could win, because the normies started talking about the cinematography. They're talking about the Oneer. They're talking about, like, the IMAX 70mm film. It's like, once the normies latch onto the cinematography, then it's gonna be like, okay, like, it's gonna win. Some other possibilities. The Rivals of Amziah King. Again, if this does become a big contender, which I'm thinking it will, it just needs the right distributor. I could see this being like a general, like, across the board, like, contender, considering it is a musical. Bugonia, it's tough because this is apparently not going to be Poor Things or The Favorite in Space. It's a lot more contemporary, which does limit it in some of these categories, I feel. But I don't know. I right now I'll go for it, but we'll have to see. Nouvelle Vague. I mean, from what we're hearing about this film, it is black and white, French, or at least in the French language, and 4:3 aspect ratio. I mean, that is cinematography porn right there. So that could, again, like, this could get in, especially if it is like a best picture contender. Frankenstein, I'm not going to predict this for the win because I don't have it in Best Picture. And it's not going to be Blade Runner 2049. Sorry, people. Like Blade Runner 2049 was such a unique set of circumstances that I don't think we're going to see happen again for a very, 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 very long time. If at all. I mean, maybe it'll happen again, but I'm not expecting it to not right now, especially when we got a big Best Picture cinematography contender. Because right now with Frankenstein, I don't think it's going to get Best Picture. I think it's going to be considered a very good Frankenstein movie, but it's probably not going to be the Oscars thing. Especially when we got, like, the big horror movie this year. But it could still get nominated for some text like Nosferatu. And given that it's Guillermo del Toro, it probably has a better chance of getting some tech nominations. So, Frankenstein, I could probably see that. Deliver Me From Nowhere, what was it? A Complete Unknown almost got a cinematography nomination. Like, it got nominated at ASC, and I'm willing to bet if it wasn't for Emilia Perez, it probably would have gotten a cinematography nomination. So I want to keep that, open out there. Kiss of the Spider Woman, I mean, good God, if the images are anything to show, it's like this could be a very show-stopping, spectacle. But again, I want to see how big of a contender this is, because if this were like Ed Lockman doing the cinematography, I would immediately have it in. But I don't think he has a movie coming out this year, so no. The Ballad of a Small Player, Edward Berger's films are a little bit spotty with cinematography. All Quiet on the Western Front got nominated, but, however, Conclave, despite getting nominated everywhere, it did not get the Oscar nomination. And considering this is a smaller film than those movies, I'm not exactly sure where this is going to stand. Ann Lee, this is directed by Mona Fastvold, who was one of the writers and producers of The Brutalist, which won cinematography. But again, I need to back off on predicting this for too many awards. I'm not exactly sure where that's going to fall. Hamnet, maybe. Again, we'll have to see how the response is and how showy the cinematography is. Wicked for Good, I would only really predict this if the reviews were better than the first film. If the reviews are better than the first film, and it actually is a lock for Best Picture, then yeah, I could probably see this getting a nomination, sure. F1, I'm not expecting it to, what was it called? What was it? If Top Gun Maverick couldn't get nominated, then F1's not going to either. And Top Gun Maverick was in Best Picture. The Phoenician Scheme, the cinematography looks very good, but I think the only Wes Anderson film to get a cinematography nomination was Grand Budapest Hotel, which again was like one of like the top 3 Best Picture contenders. So I'm not gonna predict that. Avatar: Fire and Ash, I do think it'll get nominated for Best Picture, but Avatar: The Way of Water didn't, and literally the only nomination it got was at Critics' Choice, not even ASC, not even BAFTA. I think that with cinematography, they're probably done with Avatar. One battle after another. Just looking at the trailer, it does not look like a cinematography movie at all. It really does not. I just don't see it. Highest to lowest, I don't know. History of Sound, we'll see. The Catherine Bigelow film, I don't know. After the Hunt is Superman. Superman would make sense, but I just don't think it's gonna be a big Best Picture film. So I can't do it right now. We'll have to see how everything goes. Film editing, all right? Right now, I'll go with The Life of Chuck. Right now, but Sinners could probably happen as well. But at the same time, I'm currently predicting Sinners to win 6 Oscars, and if I were to predict 7, that's probably too much for a film that's not winning Best Picture. So right now, I'll go with The Life of Chuck. You're dealing with, telling the story of a man's life, but told backwards. There's probably going to be some clever editing in there. And I do think this has a chance to threaten for the Best Picture win. So I want to keep that in mind. Sinners, again, like musical, action film, vampire horror movie. This could be a big contender. The Rivals of Amziah King. Again, musical. If I think it's in Best Picture, it's probably going to happen. Jay Kelly, alright, Jay Kelly, I think this could just be like a general editing nomination, sort of like, what was it, like Jojo Rabbit, or The Holdovers, or Poor Things. just a very well acclaimed comedy that has some good comedic timing, and that's just what gets an editing nomination. And Bugonia, maybe I've heard it's a little bit more action driven, so perhaps. And also Yorgos Lanthimos' films usually get into film editing, whether it's again, Poor Things and The Favorite. And with the other five, from 6 to 10, I'm keeping these in Best Picture. I am learning my lesson. I tried to say that maybe Challengers would get nominated because, it's a sports movie. But one thing I should have considered was that those, Challengers was absolutely not getting a Best Picture nomination. It seems like, when you expand the category to 10 films, usually it's like you kind of have to be in Best Picture in order to be nominated for film editing. You kind of have to be in Best Picture, and so like they don't really reach below the like that. They don't go that deep into the screening piles. So Deliver Me From Nowhere, perhaps maybe One Battle After Another. It is like an action film-ish, but I don't think it's going to be that strong of a film. And again, it's vulnerable in Best Picture, so that might not happen at all. Avatar, Fire, and Ash, The Way of Water didn't get nominated. I think I'm just going to predict the same nominations that the first, that Avatar, The Way of Water got. Sentimental value, I don't think it's going to be that much of an editing film. We'll have to see. After the Hunt, again, same. The Ballad of a Small Player, maybe. But again, we're on the outskirts of Best Picture right now. Nouvelle Vague, if this is in Best Picture, it could probably get nominated for film editing. The Catherine Bigelow film, again, if it's in Best Picture, it's going to get an editing nomination. So yeah, Wicked for Good, if it's in Best Picture, I'll put it in. It seems too undeniable at that point, but again, the only reason why I don't have it in is because I don't have enough confidence in Best Picture. No Other Choice, same thing. If it gets nominated for Best Picture, it would absolutely get in, or perhaps it would get in, maybe. Warfare could get an Eddie nomination, but I don't think that's going to translate to the Oscars. I mean, Civil War got nominated for the Eddie and not, this. Frankenstein, again, if it's in Best Picture, I would do it, but right now I can't. The Wave, same thing. It's a musical, which would make sense, but I need to wait to see what Best Picture chances are. Marty Supreme, I don't know. Again, if it's in Best Picture, sure. Smashing Machine is a sports movie, but again, I don't know about Best Picture. F1, Kiss of the Spider Woman would definitely make sense if it's in Best Picture, but right now I gotta hold back on that. Anne Lee, Eddington, The Phoenician Scheme. Again, we'll have to see how all of this goes, because I do feel like editing is really tied into Best Picture, especially once you lock it down to 10 nominees. And sure, Tick Tick Boom got nominated, but it's like that's like the only time it's happened ever since we've expanded it to just or locked it down to 10 nominees. So yeah. Production design, okay, I don't actually think Sinners is winning production design. I don't actually think this is going to happen, but the problem is, with Sinners, is that this is the best option I got right now. I don't have any other good options, because, I don't know, because I don't think Avatar, Fire, and Ash is going to get nominated, and I don't think, Guillermo del Toro, no, not nominated, if it's in, it will get nominated for production design. What am I saying? I don't think it's going to win, I don't think it's going to win, because Avatar, The Way of Water didn't win. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, and Wicked, and Kiss of the Spider Woman, again, these would probably make sense for nominations, but even then, it's like, this is already I have 2 films in Best Picture right here, and 3 of these I'm not predicting in Best Picture, but the problem is that I don't really, I do want these to be in Best Picture. Last year, what were the nominees last year? There was Wicked, there was Brutalist, there was Conclave, and there was Dune, and there was 1 slot for a non-Best Picture film with, Nosferatu. Then the previous year, you had Oppenheimer, you had Poor Things, you had Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, and 1 slot in there for, what was it again? Napoleon. Trying to think of what the previous year was. All Quiet, Babylon. Babylon was not in Best Picture. Fabelmans, Avatar, and I'm trying to remember what the last one was. What was that last one? Hold on a second. Oh, and Elvis. Again, only one of those films was not in Best Picture. And yet, here I have only 2 films in Best Picture, so I know for a fact this is not gonna be what it's gonna look like at the end of the year. Absolutely not. But the problem is the Best Picture contenders I have in right now are mostly contemporary, and it's not like the interesting kind of contemporary, like, Conclave, where you see, like, these massive halls, and even in the smaller, like, hotel room scenes, the production design is very intricate and precise. We don't nothing really stands out like that. Like, I don't think, like from what we've heard, Begonia, even though it's sort of sci-fi, it's mostly contemporary. So it's like, again, if it's not like Poor Things in Space, I don't think I can do that right now. Deliver Me from Nowhere, maybe, but I have not seen a single look at. I've not gotten a single look at the sets yet, so I don't know what's going to happen there. And I don't think, like, from what I'm understanding, The Rivals of Amziah King is contemporary as well. Life of Chuck, I don't know how much, like, interesting production design there is in that film. I don't know if there's, like, period elements in there. I really need to see, like, a better look at that film. And so, yeah, it's kind of, and also, you look at One Battle After Another. Again, that's, like, very contemporary. I don't think that's going to get in production design at all. So I have Frankenstein, Wicked, and Kiss of the Spider-Woman, but this is going to look different at the end of the year because there's got to be more Best Picture films in here. There's got to be more Best Picture films. Fantastic Four: First Steps. Like, the production design does look very interesting. It's sort of like a futuristic Earth, but it's also, like, 60s coded. I really like what they did, at least from what the trailers look like. So I'm very curious about that. Nouvelle Vague. If this is in Best Picture, I would also want to see what the sets look like. But it's like a movie that takes place during the 60s, so this could also get a production design nomination. Phoenician Scheme. On paper, this makes sense until you realize that I think the only Wes Anderson film to be nominated for production design was Grand Budapest, and again, that was a top 3 contender for Best Picture. Hamnet makes sense, but I don't know how close it is to Best Picture. Ann Lee, Superman makes sense, but that's not getting in Best Picture. Mickey 17 has some very good production design, but that's absolutely not happening. Wake Up Dead Man, No Other Choice, Hedda. Tron Ares looks beautiful, but again, it's probably not going to happen. So I don't really know what's going on here. And again, I don't think Sinners is going to win, but it's a better bet than any of these other films, because Avatar: The Way of Water did not win production design, so why would this one? Yeah, and with Frankenstein, Wicked, and Kiss the Spider-Woman, I don't have them in Best Picture, and if they're not in Best Picture, they're not winning production design. Like no, they're not gonna do it. So, like, yeah, like, I'm trying to think of, like, it's especially rare in the expanded era for a movie to not be in Best Picture to win production design. I'm trying to remember. In fact, let's take a look at the history of the production design category at the Oscars, or at least the recent-ish history. All right, Wicked, Poor Things, All Quiet, Dune, Mank, all in Best Picture. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was Best Picture. Black Panther, Shape of Water, La La Land, Mad Max Fury Road, The Grand Budapest Hotel. Okay, the last film to win production design without being in Best Picture was The Great Gatsby. And even before that, you still had Lincoln and Hugo, and then you had Alice in Wonderland. So really, in the expanded Best Picture era, only 2 non-Best Picture films have ever won production design: Alice in Wonderland and The Great Gatsby. And it just kind of, and especially when you look at more recent years, the trend is going just more towards Best Picture films. Even, Babylon, which won everything. It won Critics' Choice, Art Directors Guild, and BAFTA, and it still got snubbed in favor of All Quiet on the Western Front because, again, people don't really want to look beyond what the Best Picture nominees are when voting for their ballots. So, if I don't have these movies in Best Picture, I cannot predict them to win. And so Sinners, I just have to do it by default, in a sense. Again, it's not going to win, but it's the only option it's the most realistic option I have right now at this very moment. That will change, but I just can't make a good call like this right now. Costume design, all right. Sinners, I think, could actually win costume design because you're dealing with a lot of characters. It's a period piece. Ruth E. Carter is, like, so well known as a costume designer that she literally presented at the Oscars at one point. So, I think this has a good case. And again, there's also the argument to be made that the costumes really speak to what the characters are, like with Smoke and Stack and the different, color variations in their costumes to sort of like establish their characters and stuff. This could win. This honestly could win. Deliver Me From Nowhere, sort of like how Elvis and, Oppenheimer and A Complete Unknown got in. It's a lot of it has to do with like the silhouette of the costume. Like you look at this and it's like, that is Bruce Springsteen. That is Bruce Springsteen. You look at, if you were to look at a silhouette of Timothée Chalamet in A Complete Unknown, it's like, oh, well, that's just Bob Dylan. And same thing with Oppenheimer. It's like a lot of it has to do with the silhouette, and the silhouette aspect of the costuming here might help. So sure. And then Frankenstein, Wicked, and Kiss of the Spider-Woman, because those are the best options I got right now. Because Hamnet, maybe, but I don't know. That could just be like a nothing burger. Nouvelle Vague. I'm curious as to like what the costumes will fully look like. Because if they are very lavish, sort of like Mank or The Artist, I will definitely predict it at that point. Ann Lee, again, I'm kind of curious to see as to how that film is going to do. Hedda, The Phoenician Scheme, Mother Mary, Begonia. From what I've heard, Begonia is contemporary, so it's probably not going to happen anyway. Downton Abbey, the grand finale, Wake Up Dead Man, and The Fantastic Four, First Steps, and Snow White. Again, I don't really have a lot of big options right now because there's probably going to be some film that I don't even know exists that's getting in here, so take that for what you will. Makeup and hairstyling. This is one that I really struggled with because I still intend on predicting the prosthetics, the prosthetic aspect of it all. Sure, Wicked got in, but I think what I didn't consider with Wicked was that, like, sure, it had wigs, but, like, they were very, like, colorful, insane, like, character wigs. Not, like, contemporary wigs like Barbie had. So... like with this, I would still say the rule of having prosthetics. I mean, not a rule within the Academy, but like the method of predicting movies with prosthetics, even if they're small, I still think is a good bet to make. So I have the Smashing Machine winning. Granted, this category is not all that tied into Best Picture. You can win makeup without being in Best Picture. So this is fascinating. As long as people don't despise the Smashing Machine, like how Film Twitter despised Maestro, it could win. Like, look at what they did with Dwayne Johnson, and there's even more images of him. He does not look recognizable. Like he looks like a completely different person. And that's the kind of makeup that the makeup branch really loves. Frankenstein could also happen. I mean, they're trying to turn Jacob Elordi into Frankenstein's monster. I don't think we've gotten a good look at him as Frankenstein yet. Or no, not Frankenstein. No, Frankenstein's monster. And from what I've heard, he's going to be a little bit more book accurate, which means he's not going to be like green with the bolts like no, apparently he's going to look like kind of like either pale or brownish in color with like stitches and long matted hair. That's going to be fascinating. Wicked, if the first film got nominated, I think even if Wicked got bad reviews, it would still survive into the makeup category because, it does, like, it is. But then again, it's like, what other new things could they pull out with the makeup? I guess that's another thing to consider. It's like, are they doing more new things? So I don't know. Begonia, I'm not sure how much prosthetics are in this film. I'm gonna put it in for now, but if it turns out that it's more so the favorite and less like the Poor Things, I'm gonna take it out. And the fifth slot is so hard to figure out because I'm not going for Sinners. I'm not doing it. Yes, I know it has Hairstyling and Wicked got nominated, but Wicked is like I said, crazy, colorful character hair that like so many characters in Munchkinland during the No One Mourns the Wicked sequence had. But Sinners isn't really like that. It's more akin to movies like, West Side Story or One Night in Miami, where they got shortlisted for the hair, but it wasn't like extravagant enough. It wasn't that big. So I don't think Sinners is going to have, and I know people are going to go, but the vampires have teeth. And it's like, what? And sure, yeah, vampire movies can get nominated for makeup quite a bit. Hell, it just happened with Nosferatu. But when you look at movies like Nosferatu, Shadow of the Vampire, and Bram Stoker's Dracula, those are like full-on monster transformations. Like they literally turn the actors into like monsters. From what I understand, they're not really turning any actors into monsters in Sinners. They just have like blood and teeth. Like that's nothing. So I'm not going to predict that. Superman has this one character in it, that looks pretty interesting, but I don't know if this is the kind of film that would get nominated for Best Makeup. Toxic Avenger, I initially had on, but then I realized, wait, this might be too small to get nominated. The Wolfman, I don't know. I think the makeup, from what I understand, is like the most criticized aspect of the film because he doesn't even look like a Wolfman. Kiss the Spider-Woman, that's like a sure thing to be like shortlisted, like the kind of thing that would get shortlisted, but obviously not get into the Oscars. Sort of like Maria. So I'm going to go with The Ugly Stepsister, which if you don't know, it's like an international kind of body horror film. The marketing is definitely trying to make it look like The Substance, even though it's probably not going to be like that at all. And especially given its like Victorian era setting, it's definitely not going to be like The Substance where it has like a heavy sci-fi element to it. It's going to be a little bit more different from that. And from the trailers, it looks like they're trying to hide something. Again, kind of similar to The Substance. Again, I don't think this is actually going to be like a Substance ripoff. This is clearly like, oh, they saw this, like this movie was already made and they saw the success of The Substance, and so they're trying to market it as such. I do think it's going to be like a body horror movie that has some cool, makeup and stuff, but I don't know. But even then, it still might not get in. We don't really have a lot of options right now. I don't know what's going on. 28 years later, zombie makeup that never gets into the Oscars. No, absolutely not. Let's see. Captain America Brave New World. I mean, Tim Blake Nelson's character looks pretty, like, insane. But I still need to see that movie, I guess. And also, I don't know how much he's in the film. And so, I don't know. And plus, there's only been, like, a couple of Marvel films that were nominated for makeup. So, I don't know if this would even happen. Like, even when they've had, like, pretty deserving makeup, like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, they still didn't get nominated. It's like, no, they didn't even shortlist it. I was like, why? Still. How to Train Your Dragon, I don't know. There's some period stuff going on, but I think the most makeup in the film is going to be like Gerard Butler trying to make himself look like the character he played in the animated version. I don't think that's going to be I don't know if that's going to be enough. Mother Mary, Life of Chuck. I was thinking maybe Life of Chuck, but apparently there's not like any kind of makeup transformation, like people turning old or whatever. That's not happening. Nouvelle Vague, I don't know. Phoenician Scheme and Lead Deliver Me From Nowhere. Probably not going to happen, but again, there's got to be some sort of movie out there that has like big transformations, and we just don't even know about it yet. Like probably sometime later on in the year, they're gonna come out with like, oh, it's like because like I remember back in 2023, like it was like somewhere in the summer when they released a photo of this movie called Golda, which was starring Helen Mirren, and Helen Mirren was like caked in makeup. I was like, oh, that's going to get in. And I put that in my makeup predictions and never took it out. And I reaped the benefits, at least in terms of bragging, because that movie got in and I was one of the first ones to call it. So yeah. But I don't know exactly what's going on with this film. Visual effects. This seems way too easy, and I know it's way too easy because there's gonna be some film that comes out this year that we don't even know exists. It's gonna be like Bleep Blorp, saves the universe, and it gets a visual effects nomination. And it's like, wait, where'd that movie even come from? Sort of like, Better Man, we didn't know that existed. There was also Godzilla -1. There was 13 Lives, which didn't get nominated, but it was still shortlisted. Also, All Quiet on the Western Front. Like, that was a film that I did not even know existed at the beginning of the year. And I did not think that was going to become like a visual effects thing. So, I want to keep my eyes out. And I've searched all over the internet for, like, any potential contenders. And this is the best I got right now. Even though I know for a fact there's going to be something that comes out that I'm completely missing. So I got Avatar, Fire, and Ash winning right now, but I'm not gonna lie, this might be a little bit of a doom-dicting thing, but if this film is not in Best Picture, and there is a film in Best Picture nominated for visual effects, I don't have much confidence in Avatar winning, because they clearly go with what their favorite movie in the category is, generally, unless there's, like, multiple Best Picture nominees in there, which even then, it's like, sometimes they will choose their favorite, like, even between like 1917 and The Irishman. The Irishman clearly had more impressive, groundbreaking visual effects, winning 2 Visual Effects Society awards, whereas even though The Lion King won 3, but that was never going to win. But it's like 1917 was nominated for only 1 category, which was Outstanding Supporting Visual Effects in a Photoreal Feature, and it didn't even win that. It lost to The Irishman. But at the Oscars, 1917 won because it was the most liked film in the category. And when there are no Best Picture nominees in the category, they will usually go with what would be most likely to get in Best Picture. You know, like Godzilla -1, I think would be the most likely. I know it's weird because it's like, what, Napoleon? But it's like people did not like Napoleon, whereas people loved Godzilla -1. I think that was like the most liked category, like the most liked film in the category. Let's see, Tenet winning visual effects over The Midnight Sky. What was it? First Man winning visual effects over Avengers Infinity War. Blade Runner 2049 winning visual effects over War for the Planet of the Apes, so on and so forth. You see like big discrepancies between the Oscars visual effects winner and the Visual Effects Society's winner, and it's like, well, with the Oscars, they usually just go with what their favorite film in the category is. Now, if there are no Best Picture nominees in visual effects, and Avatar's nominated, well then yeah, it can probably win. But if it's not in Best Picture, and there is a Best Picture film nominated, again, Avatar could be in trouble. Avatar could definitely be in trouble. So, yeah. Good God, it's loud out there. Still, Wicked for good. Again, I think if the first film can get nominated here, the second film probably will as well. So I'm kind of going with this. I'm not really sure how big the second act of Wicked is. Like if it's larger scale. If it's larger scale, that does help. Out of all the Marvel films this year, I have the most confidence in Fantastic Four getting nominated for visual effects. Because Captain America Brave New World, that like kind of bombed and no one liked it. And so far there has not really been a film that got bad reviews like from Marvel that actually got the visual effects Oscar nomination. So it's probably not going to happen. Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning. I mean, normally I would say no, but I mean, if Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning can get in, then the finale of it all with, The Final Reckoning, that's probably going to get in as well. And then there's Superman. I have no idea what to do with this, because on one hand, the visual effects branch does not like the DC universe. Now, granted, it was the DC EU, this is sort of a reboot of it all, but I don't know how they're going to think about all this, because Man of Steel did not even get shortlisted for visual effects, even though it really should have. I would probably give it a nomination, but, not even shortlisted? Like, come on. And then you had, the Suicide Squad, James Gunn's Suicide Squad, amazing effects. And you can't even use the argument that that people didn't like the movie. People did like the movie. And it got snubbed out of the shortlist anyway. So it's like, they don't really even in the pandemic year 2020, they didn't shortlist, what was it? Wonder Woman 1984, and yet they did so with Birds of Prey, which never made sense to me. It's like, it should have been the other way around. Because Birds of Prey did not really have that much impressive visual effects, if I'm going to be completely honest. But it's like, I don't know how they're going to view Superman. Now, granted, it's not just Superman in this film, because you also have a bunch of other heroes like Green Lantern and, Mr. Terrific and Hawkgirl, and there's big monsters spewing fire, and you got Krypto, and you got these robots. It's like, there's a lot going on in Superman, which makes sense it makes sense for it to get a visual effects nomination, but I don't know if the DC bias is just going to kind of, stop it. And yes, I know the Batman got nominated, but that was like an Elseworlds thing. It's not DC Universe stuff. So I don't know how they're going to approach Superman. I'll do it right now, but if this gets snubbed, I'm never going to predict a DC Universe film to get nominated ever again. Oh my god. Jurassic World Rebirth. I'm not going to predict to get a nomination right now because the visual effects branch has not nominated a Jurassic Park movie since The Lost World. It seems like they don't really care about dinosaurs anymore, or dragons and stuff. But however, Jurassic World Rebirth, I mean, the effects do look amazing, and it is very vibrant and colorful, which might help it. But I do think at the bare minimum, it's going to get shortlisted, all right? Like, even if you don't think it's going to get nominated, put Jurassic World in your top 10 because it will be shortlisted. Every Jurassic Park movie has been shortlisted. Do not doubt this on the shortlist for a second. Even if this gets bad reviews, it's still going to make in the shortlist. Tron Ares, I see a lot of people putting Tron Ares in there. Don't. Tron has never been nominated for visual effects. Even the first one, which honestly should have won, because it was like one of the most groundbreaking achievements in CGI, did not get nominated. And granted, that was before there was like a visual effects branch, so I'm not sure how they would have thought it was back then. But you know, Tron didn't get nominated. Tron Legacy didn't get nominated. So it's like, Tron Ares might get shortlisted. It probably will get shortlisted. But don't predict this to get a visual effects nomination because it seems like the visual effects branch is not really, or at least the Academy is just not really a big fan of Tron. Thunderbolts, as long as it doesn't get bad reviews, it'll probably be shortlisted. But I don't know. Nothing about the effects in the film seem like it's going to be like that big of a contender, but we will have to see. Red Sonja. This is one where I really had to like dig deep to try to find something for visual effects. And I'm not even sure how big of a contender this could be because it said it's sort of like a, you know, swords and sorcery kind of film. But I don't know. Even then, magic and magical creatures and stuff, that doesn't always work. Like, look at Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. And 2023 was kind of a bad year for visual effects, and even that couldn't get in. So, I don't know. I do not know. But it makes more sense than some of these other films. Like, Mickey 17 probably could get shortlisted. I did just see Mickey 17. It is, it's all right, but the effects aren't that bad. There are definitely times when they are like very, very good. I guess the only really issues I have is like, especially around the end, the green screening is really bad. But again, the more impressive achievements are like what they're doing with like the actual creeper creatures. Like, that stuff is very cool. And Bong Joon-ho is not a stranger to the visual effects category. Like, Okja got shortlisted for visual effects. Yes, the final 10 shortlist. So Mickey 17 could still make that shortlist, even if it's not really a big contender anywhere else. I don't think it's going to get nominated though, but I do think there is a chance for a shortlist mention. And again, considering this is not going to look like a very strong year for visual effects. Warfare, I'm kind of only maybe considering because it's like, you know, Civil War got shortlisted. But then again, Civil War got shortlisted because of the Washington, D.C. sequence, because all of Washington, D.C. was CGI. I don't know if there's going to be anything like that in Warfare. Captain America Brave New World, the reviews are so bad, it's not gonna get shortlisted. Usually I would not say this is like a big hurdle, because The Lone Ranger got nominated, but times are different now, and Marvel just never gets nominated if the reviews are bad. And hell, the only time they ever got shortlisted was like with Eternals. So, Paddington in Peru, no. Top 20, probably, but top 10, no. The Lost Bus, I mean, if there's like some really extravagant large fire sequences, then perhaps. I do want to keep my eye out for that. F1, I don't know what you could really do with like, you know, racing like race car visual effects that hasn't already been done before. So I don't know. Lilo and Stitch, maybe top 20. How to Train Your Dragon, they don't really care about dragons and shit. The Electric State, probably not. It might not even make the top 15. Snow White, a Minecraft movie, The Running Man. I'm curious if I need to see a trailer for The Running Man to see if this could actually be a thing. Bugonia, probably not. Yes, Poor Things got shortlisted, but let's be fair here. That was a bad year for visual effects. If the year, not only was it a bad year for visual effects, but it was also a December release. And that historically has had shown that if you're like a late December release, then you can get into the visual effects shortlist because the visual effects branch hasn't seen your movie yet, and this can ensure that they not only will see it, but they'll see a bake-off reel, because usually those would come like way later in time. But I don't think Begonia is gonna be like of an actual visual effects contender. Sinners, I know a lot of people are probably going to try to predict this, but genuinely, what about Sinners could possibly be a visual effects contender? I mean, there is the whole, cloning, Michael B. Jordan thing, but I don't think that's going to happen, because, like, a lot of movies can do that. Unless it's, like, revealed that, like, one of the Michael B. Jordans was, like, entirely CG, I'm not going to bet on Sinners getting a visual effects nomination. Watch Dogs, Fountain of Youth, again, I've just been digging and digging and digging. Nothing has shown... I can't find any other contenders. So, like, either I found them all, which is not likely, or there's one that I don't even know exists, and it's like, there you go. But, yeah. Anyways, sound. I mean, Sinners. It has music and guns. That's, like, candy for sound designers. Like, I was saying Emilia Perez is gonna get nominated for sound, and people are like, what, really? But it's like, guys, it's the cartel with guns and shit, and it's also a musical. It's gonna get in, and sure enough, it got in. So, I'm very positive of that. The Rivals of M. Zaya King, again, music film, I could probably see this happening. Deliver Me From Nowhere, sure. Avatar, yeah. Mission Impossible. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, unless Rivals of M. Zaya King is like a myth, I feel very confident in this top 5, if I'm going to be completely honest. I feel very confident in this. One battle after another, I don't know if it's going to be that strong. It's probably not going to be that strong of a contender. The Catherine Bigelow film I'm looking out for, Wicked. Okay, if Wicked is very, very well received, and it is in Best Picture, then yeah, I'll predict it for sound. Warfare, probably not. F1, The Lost Bus, Tron, Ares. Tron, I think actually Tron does do pretty well with sound, the sound categories, but now there's only one sound category, so I don't know if it's going to get a nomination there. Begonia, Kiss the Spider-Woman. Again, if this becomes a bigger contender, I want to keep my eye out for it. Superman, probably not. History of Sound, I mean, it is a movie about sound, but I don't know how big of a film this is going to be in terms of award season. If it does become, like, very prominent, then, alright, I do want to pay attention to that, but yeah. Mickey 17, nothing about the sound really stood out to me in that film. Fantastic Four, First Steps, Ballerina, probably not, so yeah. Original score. Alright, this is where you want to have Best Picture films in it. Alright? They will prioritize the Best Picture films. I know you're going to say, but The Wild Robot, that got nominated for Best Original Score, and that wasn't in Best Picture. True, but at the end of the day, when the nominations came out, only 4 of the Best Picture nominees were in the shortlist to begin with. Those were Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez, and Wicked. Those are the only 4 Best Picture nominees in the shortlist. So they still maxed out on the amount of Best Picture nominees that they could have nominated. So I want to play it safe and just prioritize the Best Picture films right now. Sinners is so winning this. Oh my, if there's anything I can call a lock, it is score. Ludwig Göransson is going to win his 3rd Oscar in the span of less than 10 years. And hell, he might win another. We'll see. And... my God, the dude's the GOAT. He's going to become the next John Williams. I don't know how he keeps doing it. Everyone is saying that the music is the soul of the film. That this movie would not be the same if it weren't for the music. That the music is helping tell the story. This is the kind of shit that wins score. So, yeah, it's gonna win. And also, I've listened to the score, and it is phenomenal. Phenomenal. The Rivals of M. Zaya King. If this movie does have an original score, then yeah, I could see this happening, considering it's a musical adjacent film. I've heard that the score for The Life of Chuck is actually very, very good. I want to bet on that. Jay Kelly, I don't think there is a composer, credited yet, unless I'm mistaken. But, Marriage Story did manage to get, what's his name? Randy Newman doing the score. So maybe this could be a late edition they bring in. I don't know who they would get for the score, but I'm going to put it in there for now. And Begonia, they got Jerksky and Fendrix. If this is in Best Picture, then it's probably going to get in score as well. Then we got After the Hunt. That's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, but they've not really been. They haven't really been doing well. It's like they got nominated. No, they won the Oscars for like The Social Network and Soul, but they're kind of weak in a lot of other years. One Battle After Another does have Johnny Greenwood, but again, I don't know how much of a score film this is actually going to be. Sentimental Value. Looking out for that. Avatar Fire and Ash and Ballad of the Small Player. I think it gets shortlisted, but I don't know how strong. Okay, well, I know Avatar Fire and Ash, like the second Avatar didn't get nominated, and also Ballad of the Small Player, it's like graded. I think it does have Volker Bertelmann, but I don't think I have this in Best Picture right now. Also, I just realized I don't have The Wave. If The Wave is like an original musical and it's in Best Picture, that could happen as well. I do want to put that out there. I forgot to put in The Wave. Wicked for Good, if it's in Best Picture, then yeah, it's going to get nominated for score. Same thing with Frankenstein. That seems like that would be a very good bet to make if you have Frankenstein in Best Picture right now. Ann Lee, that also has, the guy who did the score for The Brutalist, Daniel Blumberg. But again, I don't want to jump the gun on Ann Lee too much. Fantastic Four, First Up, Superman, F1. I'm just kind of throwing them in there. But again, with score, your best bet is to go with Best Picture nominees, because they will prioritize those. Unless there's just not enough Best Picture films in the shortlist, or John Williams is in there, they will prioritize you if you're a Best Picture nominee. So, yeah. And like, they'll even go, even if you don't have any precursors, you could still get in. Like, look at Wicked, or look at, what was it? Like, oh yeah, American Fiction, that managed to get in without any precursor nominations. So, I just want to say, yeah. And then finally today, we're going to look at Best Animated Feature, which has had a major shakeup. A major shakeup. Because Wildwood was like poised to win this category. Because Disney just doesn't seem very strong this year. And Wildwood was said to be like, like Laika's magnum opus, And it's being pushed to next year, and it's probably not going to win, because then it's got to deal with Toy Story 5, which, unless that gets, like, disappointing reviews, then, okay, Wildwood might win, but I'm not going to bet against that with Toy Story. So, what do we have right now? And if I'm being honest, like, it's probably very close between Elio and the Magnificent Life of Marcel Pagnol. Now, granted, I don't know what it's going to be called in the United States. If it's going to be called The Magnificent Life of Marcel Pagnol, or if it's going to be called A Magnificent Life. I don't know. There is a trailer for this, actually. It looks very interesting. It's from the same director who did The Triplets of Belleville and, what was it? The Illusionist. I think he's gotten like 4 Oscar nominations as is, and he's also so well respected in the animation community that he was brought on for a Simpsons couch gag, and also he did the animated sequence for Joker Folie à Deux, which I know it's weird to bring up that movie, but it's like the fact that a Joker sequel brought in this guy, like, he's respected. Like, there's some respect in this guy in the animation community. But however, is this film going to be strong enough to win Best Animated Feature? I don't know, because it is coming out at Cannes, which is interesting, so we will be able to see how popular it is pretty soon, but there's one factor that it needs, alright, because I know some people are going, well, international films, like, any international film could win Best Animated Feature. Pump the brakes, because there's a little thing you need to know. Yeah, Boy and the Heron won, Flow won. Those were big. But you know what they had? They had PGA nominations. Now, I know it's weird because it's like, what, PGA? Why does that matter? PGA they don't really like indie animated films or international animated films. They just don't. They like they would rather go for like some stupid Minions movie over, an independent animated film. So, why is that important? The fact that those two got nominated, especially Flow. Flow is big. I did not expect that to happen. But the fact that Flow got nominated, like, The Boy and the Heron and Flow are the only ever non-English language films to be nominated at PGA for Best Animated Feature. That is big, people. That is big. And so, like, yeah, they didn't win, but obviously when you look at, what, like when you look at what PGA does, like, they'll always go for, like, the big American animated films. But the fact that they got nominated shows they were popular amongst, like, the normies. The normies like Boy and the Heron. The normies like Flow. They know about these movies. So the fact that they were so, like, popular to where PGA nominated them, that, especially when it came to Flow, I was like, you know what? I'm sticking with Flow because it got the PGA nomination. It, like, yeah, it didn't win at PGA, but the fact that it got nominated at all when international films do not get nominated, that shows that there's some strength for it. And I think that's why Klaus did not beat Toy Story 4, because Klaus got nominated only at, like, before the Oscars, it only got nominated at the Annies and the BAFTAs. No PGA, no Critics' Choice, no Golden Globe, nothing. Whereas, Flow and Boy and the Heron, they got nominations everywhere, including PGA. They were popular. Klaus was not popular. So, I'm not sure what to make of The Magnificent Life of Marcel Pagnol, because if this movie does not get a PGA nomination, then I don't think it's going to win Best Animated Feature. So I'm very curious about this. And also the fact that it hasn't even come out, it's like, is this film going to come out of Cannes with rave, stellar reviews that people are saying that it's, like, one of the best animated films of the year? Or at least, like, or in this case, are people saying it's the best animated film of the year? Because I don't know. And that's why right now I'm playing it safe with Elio. Because Disney might be coming back. Toy Story 5 is going to win Best Animated Feature. And if the Magnificent Life of Marcel Pagnol is not popular enough to get nominated at PGA and take the world by storm, then really Disney's the only option we got left. Because, like, sure, there is also Zootopia 2, but sequels don't really win Best Animated Feature. The only sequels that have were, funny enough, the Toy Story sequels. Julian, I'm actually going to look out for this one. I think I'll predict this one. It's done by Cartoon Saloon. It seems like it seems very culturally, like, it's embedded in the culture of the subject, which is very fascinating. So I'm going to predict that. And then I'm going to go with a kind of, like, a bit of a out of the box thinking kind of prediction, and that is In Your Dreams. This is from, like, an up and coming filmmaker, but this movie also has the likes of Simu Liu and I think Craig Ferguson, and so Craig Robertson. Craig Robertson, I think that's it. Yeah. And I think this is, like, about, like, kids and dreams and stuff. I'm not exactly sure, but it is Netflix, and I want to predict a Netflix film. All right. I don't, because I was looking at because initially I had in, like, Scarlet and Savages in there, but then I realized, wait, those are not like, Netflix. I gotta have a Netflix film in there somewhere. So I think In Your Dreams might surprise people. It's like, oh wow, this movie's really good. So I want to keep my eye out for that. So right now I'll do that. In Waves definitely seems like a kind of, like, international, like, indie animated film that's that they would latch on to, but again, I don't know too much about it, and again, it's not done by Netflix, so, and again, I don't know what I have to take out, maybe Julian, but I don't know if I want to bet on that right now. In fact, I wonder if Julian actually has reviews right now. Wait, they're still in production for Julian. It's probably not coming out this year. Shit! Ah, man! Oh, dang it. Okay, hold on a second. All right, well, yeah, I guess Julian's not coming out this year, so I switched. Okay, I guess I am going to predict the Waves to get in. But yeah, like, the story is interesting In Waves, I should say. It's In Waves. So I'm curious. Scarlet is from director Mamoru Hosoda, I think. And he's directed, movies like The Boy and the Beast and Mirai, which got nominated, and also Belle, which should have been nominated. Like, Belle was so fucking good, but they didn't nominate it for some reason. But still, I want to keep my eye out, but I don't know. Like, Scarlet doesn't seem to be like Like, it looks a little bit more fantastical, like action-y, but again, who knows? The Twilight World, I think, is being done by Werner Herzog, which it's an adaptation of his book, but I'm curious. Savages, there are reviews for it, but they're like, the percentage of critics that like it is very good, but the average rating is kind of like around 7-ish, like, mid sevens. Like, all right, it's not that well acclaimed. Ne Zha 2. Okay, let's talk about this. I know a lot of people are predicting this. I don't think Americans care enough about Ne Zha 2 for it to be nominated. I genuinely don't. Like, it made no cultural splash in the US. Like, sure, it apparently made $2 billion in China alone. Like, what? But it's like, I feel like China's the only place that even knows about Ne Zha 2. Like, especially when it comes to, like, just, like, people here in the US, like, I think general audiences don't even know what this film is. It hasn't gotten, like, a big release in the US. I mean, there's probably been, like, some, independent theaters or something like that, but, like, it's not gotten a wide release and wide mass promotion. I just don't think it's going to be that kind of film. And so, yeah, I even though a lot of people are predicting it, I just don't think America gives enough of a shit about Ne Zha 2. And then there's Animal Farm, which, on paper, makes sense. It's an adaptation of a very well-acclaimed book with some very timely themes, but there's one problem. It's being directed by Andy Serkis, and I do not trust him. No. Like, because he's directed 3 major films, all right? He's directed 3 films. The first one he did was Breathe, starring Andrew Garfield, and that has like a 67% of Rotten Tomatoes. Then he did Mowgli Legend of the Jungle, which was like Warner Brothers' own like adaptation of the Jungle Book, coming out in initially it was supposed to come out in 2017, and I'll get back to that. But it was supposed to come out in 2017. It was like their version of the Jungle Book. It was also going to be like, kid actor with a bunch of CG animals and stuff, and Andy Serkis was directing it. But then there was silence. There was silence on that film, and it's like, what's going on? And then it turned out it wasn't coming out in 2017, and then out of nowhere, boop, they sold Warner Brothers sold the film to Netflix. And it's like, uh-oh. And it came out in late 2018, and ultimately you could see why they did that, because the reviews were very divisive. I actually quite liked Mowgli Legend of the Jungle, but the reviews were very divisive, and I will say one of my criticisms of the film would be that the animals look absolutely horrid. I mean, the CG quality wasn't bad, but it's like, they did motion capture for the actors, but the animals were like a hybrid, like sort of in between of the actor and the animal, and it looked really weird. It looked wrong. Like the tiger looked vaguely like Benedict Cumberbatch, and it was just uncomfortable to look at. And I think that's why, like, Warner Brothers, like, kind of dumped it to Netflix, because they're like, oh, this is not happening. This is just kind of weird. And then Andy Serkis directed Venom: Let There Be Carnage, which, I guess out of the Sony Venomverse movies, it got the best reviews. And admittedly, I quite liked it, actually. But amongst the critics, they were not very big fans of it. It has a 59% of Rotten Tomatoes, which is, again, not great. So, answer me this. Why should I predict Animal Farm to get nominated? This would have to be a situation where Andy Serkis somehow struck gold out of nowhere. It's like, hey, I finally did it. I finally made a movie that people really liked. But I don't trust that right now. I don't trust him to deliver a film that's going to be nominated for Best Animated Feature. I just don't think he's that kind of a director. Again, I hope to be proven wrong, because the story of Animal Farm is very interesting, and I do think Andy Serkis, at least of the films I've seen of his, I really liked. But if I'm going to predict a film for Best Animated Feature, I want to have reasons to do that, and I don't really have a good reason to predict Animal Farm other than, yeah, it has very good source material. But we've seen time and time again where good source material just kind of gets fucked up with the adaptation, and it's just like, well, That didn't work. You know, look at The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby is like one of the most acclaimed novels of all time, and they've still not been able to translate that into a film that actually worked. So, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing Animal Farm. No. Bad Guys 2, I'm not doing Bad Guys 2 because the first one didn't get nominated. And I don't think it's going to be like a, you know, Despicable Me situation because, well, when the first Despicable Me came out, they only did like 3 nominees. So it's probable that in a list of 5 nominees, it probably could have been nominated. So no, I'm not doing that. Dogman looks very fun, and I think it looks very good. But if it's supposed to be like in the same world as Captain Underpants, but if Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, couldn't get nominated, then why would they do that for Dogman? Why would Dogman get nominated? So no. And Fixed, this is Genny Tartakovsky's film, which is all. This is done by Netflix, but this just seems so brash and insane. Like, it looks very fascinating, but I don't think the Academy would nominate this for Best Animated Feature. But again, who knows? Admittedly, I am kind of struggling to see what else could come out. So I am very much looking out for The Magnificent Life of Marcel Pagnol. But, again, I can only predict this to win Best Animated Feature if it's, like, becoming really popular, especially if it gets a PGA nomination. If it does not get PGA nominated, it is dead. It is Klaus. I don't care if it wins Annie or BAFTA, you need to be nominated for the PGA because that shows you have a very wide appeal as an international animated film. Still, anyway, guys, those are my below-the-line Oscar predictions for April. My God, guys, whew! I need to figure out what next week's video is going to be because I need to, like, I don't think I could do Oscar predictions that week because I want to try to, like, get it where I'm, like, you know, next 4 months or like four weeks and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I could do a live stream talking about your April predictions. But yeah, guys, now I'm going to pass the question off to you. What are your below-the-line Oscar predictions for April? Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching. And be sure you hit that subscribe button, because if you don't, you're not going to have a magnificent life.